The 1957 Jefferson nickel holds a significant place in the history of American coinage as part of the long-running series that honors the third U.S. President, Thomas Jefferson. Introduced in 1938, the Jefferson nickel replaced the Buffalo nickel and has remained in circulation ever since. While the 1957 Jefferson nickel might seem like just another 5-cent coin at first glance, its history, design, and unique features make it an interesting subject for collectors and history enthusiasts alike. This essay will explore the background of the 1957 nickel, its design, and some of the notable facts that set this coin apart. The Jefferson nickel was first minted in 1938 to replace the Buffalo nickel, which had been in circulation since 1913. The U.S. Treasury decided to update the design of the 5-cent coin in order to honor Thomas Jefferson, one of the founding fathers, the primary author of the Declaration of Independence, and the third President of the United States. The coin's design was created by German-American sculptor Felix Schlag, whose design won a public competition held by the U.S. Mint. The obverse of the 1957 Jefferson nickel features a profile portrait of Thomas Jefferson, facing left. Above his head is the word Liberty, followed by the date 1957 and a small star. The motto, "In God We Trust," appears to the left of Jefferson's portrait. The reverse of the coin showcases Jefferson's famous home, Monticello, located in Virginia. Surrounding the image of Monticello are the words E pluribus unum at the top and United States of America at the bottom. The denomination 5 cents is also included below Monticello. This design has remained largely unchanged since its introduction, with only minor alterations over the years. The 1957 Jefferson nickel, like other nickels produced from 1946 to today, is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This composition was introduced after World War II, during which the U.S. Mint temporarily produced nickels using a composition of silver, manganese, and copper due to wartime shortages of nickel. In 1957, the Jefferson nickel was minted at 2 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, marked with a D. No nickels were minted at the San Francisco Mint that year. The total mintage for the 1957 Jefferson nickel exceeded 133 million coins, with over 38 million produced at the Denver Mint and more than 95 million at the Philadelphia Mint. While these mintage figures are relatively high, certain condition and mint mark varieties of the 1957 Jefferson nickel can still hold value for collectors today. The 1957 Jefferson nickel is more than just a simple 5-cent coin. It is a piece of American history, representing both the legacy of Thomas Jefferson and the resilience of the U.S. economy during the post-war era. Its design, crafted by Felix Schlag, continues to serve as a tribute to Jefferson's contributions to the nation, while the reverse, featuring Monticello, highlights his architectural and philosophical legacy. The coin's copper-nickel composition, mintage varieties, and historical significance make it an enduring piece of numismatic interest. For collectors, the 1957 Jefferson nickel is an important part of the broader Jefferson nickel series, offering opportunities to discover valuable mint marks, error coins, and well-preserved examples. Whether you're a casual hobbyist or a seasoned numismatist, the 1957 Jefferson nickel represents a fascinating period in U.S. coinage and offers a tangible connection to the nation's past. According to our reliable source, a Jefferson nickel from 1957 in circulated condition is worth between 10 to 20 cents. However, on the open market, 1957 D nickels, in pristine, uncirculated condition, sell for as much as $200. The 1958 Jefferson nickel is a small yet significant piece of U.S. coinage, valued by collectors and history enthusiasts alike. Part of the long-running Jefferson nickel series, which began in 1938 and continues to this day, the 1958 coin bears a design that honors Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States. While the 1958 Jefferson nickel might not be the rarest or most valuable coin, it carries historical importance and holds some interesting numismatic aspects. In this essay, we will delve into the history, design, minting details, and unique facts that make the 1958 Jefferson nickel noteworthy. The Jefferson nickel was introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, which had been minted since 1913. The U.S. Mint held a design competition for the new nickel coin, The obverse depicts Thomas Jefferson, and the reverse depicts Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate, and Felix Schlag's depiction won the contest. The goal was to commemorate Jefferson, a key figure in American history who authored the Declaration of Independence and contributed to the founding principles of the nation. By 1958, the Jefferson nickel had already become a familiar part of everyday American life, being used in a post-war economy that was expanding rapidly. The coin's design had remained largely unchanged, creating a sense of continuity in U.S. coinage. The obverse of the 1958 Jefferson nickel features a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson. Felix Schlag's depiction of Jefferson is classic and dignified, capturing the Founding Fathers' contemplative expression. Jefferson's image occupies the center of the coin, and it has remained relatively consistent over the years. His profile is easily recognizable and one of the most famous presidential portraits in U.S. coinage. In God We Trust. This national motto appears to the left of Jefferson's portrait. Liberty. Located on the right side of the portrait, along with the year of minting, 1958. The subtle spacing and font used in the inscriptions give the coin a classic and balanced aesthetic, with Jefferson's portrait being the focal point. The reverse of the 1958 Jefferson nickel showcases Jefferson's home, Monticello, which serves as a symbol of his intellectual and political legacy. Monticello. The image of Jefferson's famous estate is depicted in precise architectural detail. The building represents Jefferson's life as a scholar, architect, and public servant. E pluribus unum. The Latin phrase meaning out of many, one, is inscribed at the top of the reverse, symbolizing the unity of the nation. Monticello. The name of Jefferson's estate is centered below the image of the building. 5 cents. The denomination of the coin is placed at the bottom, above United States of America. In 1958, Jefferson nickels were minted at 2 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, marked with a D. The Philadelphia Mint produced about 17 million nickels, while the Denver Mint produced nearly 169 million nickels that year. Coins from the Denver Mint are more abundant, and therefore, the value between the two is similar, with no significant premium placed on either version in circulated conditions. Despite being minted in large quantities, the 1958 Jefferson nickel is still collectible, particularly in higher grades. Uncirculated examples with full steps, sharp detail in the steps of Monticello, can command higher prices. Full-step nickels are difficult to find from this period because minting technology wasn't as advanced as it is today, often resulting in blurred or weak details on the coin. The 1958 Jefferson nickel is interesting in the broader context of U.S. coinage because it was minted just before the introduction of significant changes in coin composition and design. The early 1960s saw shifts in the metal content of U.S. coins, particularly in silver coinage, as rising silver prices led to the elimination of silver from most circulating coins. While the nickel itself maintained its 75% copper and 25% nickel composition, it remained part of an era that was about to change dramatically. Like many coins, the 1958 Jefferson nickel has some notable minting errors that are sought after by collectors. These include doubled dies and off-center strikes. A doubled die occurs when a coin is struck twice by the die, resulting in a doubled image. Such errors are relatively rare and can increase the value of the coin significantly. One of the reasons the 1958 Jefferson nickel is relatively affordable is its high mintage. The Denver Mint alone produced over 168 million nickels that year, making it one of the most common coins from the 1950s. However, this also means that high-quality examples are worth seeking out, as finding one in excellent condition becomes a bit of a challenge due to the volume in circulation. The 1958 Jefferson nickel was minted during the height of the Cold War. While this doesn't directly affect the coin's design or value, it provides historical context. The late 1950s were marked by heightened tensions between the U.S. and the Soviet Union, and the nickel circulated during a time of great political and social transformation in the U.S., including the early stages of the space race and civil rights movement. The 1958 Jefferson nickel is a coin that, while not particularly rare, holds a special place in U.S. numismatics and history. Its classic design, honoring Thomas Jefferson and his contributions to the nation, has remained largely unchanged for decades. The high mintage numbers, coupled with the potential for finding mint state or full step examples, make it an appealing coin for both casual collectors and more serious numismatists. As a piece of everyday currency, it circulated during a pivotal time in American history, giving it historical as well as numismatic value. According to our reliable source, a Jefferson nickel from 1958 in circulated condition is worth between 10 cents and 20 cents. However, on the open market, 1958 nickels in pristine, uncirculated condition sell for as much as $250. The 1959 Jefferson nickel, part of the long-running Jefferson nickel series, holds a unique place in American coinage history. Introduced in 1938, the Jefferson nickel replaced the Buffalo nickel and became a staple of U.S. currency, featuring the likeness of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and author of the Declaration of Independence. The 1959 edition of this coin is notable not just for its enduring design, but for the historical context and technical aspects of its minting, as well as its collectible value. The 1959 Jefferson nickel was minted during a time of relative peace and prosperity in the United States. Post-World War II. America was thriving economically, and the coinage of the 1950s reflected this stability. Unlike other eras, such as the wartime production of nickels from 1942 to 1945, where silver was used due to the demands of war, the 1959 nickel was minted using the standard 75% copper and 25% nickel composition. This period marked a return to normalcy in American coin production. By 1959, the Jefferson nickel had been in circulation for over 2 decades. It was well established as a reliable, everyday coin used in commerce, and the design had become familiar to millions of Americans. The coin was produced in 3 mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, with mint marks D and S distinguishing the coins made in Denver and San Francisco, while Philadelphia coins had no mint mark. The design of the 1959 Jefferson nickel, like others in the series, was the work of sculptor Felix Schlag, whose design was chosen in a national competition held by the U.S. Mint in 1938. The obverse of the coin features a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, with the word Liberty inscribed to the left and the year 1959 to the right. Above Jefferson's head is the national motto, "In God We Trust." On the reverse of the coin is a depiction of Monticello, Jefferson's iconic Virginia estate. The words Monticello and 5 cents appear beneath the image, while United States of America circles the bottom edge of the coin. The Latin phrase e pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one, is inscribed at the top of the coin. The reverse design remained mostly unchanged throughout the series, becoming a symbol of Jefferson's legacy as a statesman and architect. In 1959, the U.S. Mint produced Jefferson nickels in 2 locations, Philadelphia and Denver. These mints produced the following quantities: Philadelphia Mint, no mint mark. Around 27 million coins were minted. Denver Mint, D mint mark. Approximately 160 million coins were minted, making the Denver issue much more common than the Philadelphia version. San Francisco did not produce any nickels in 1959, making the year unique in that sense. Most 1959 Jefferson nickels found in circulation today will likely be from the Denver Mint due to the higher production numbers. While the 1959 Jefferson nickel is not particularly rare, it is of interest to collectors, especially in higher grades. In circulated condition, these nickels typically hold only face value, as their large mintage numbers make them common. However, in uncirculated or near-perfect condition, the value increases. A mint state, MS Jefferson nickel from 1959, can range in value from $2 to $20 or more, depending on its condition and specific grade. Some coins from this year also exhibit interesting die variations, which can add to their appeal for collectors. For example, full steps nickels are highly prized. These coins show a strong, well-defined strike on the reverse, particularly in the steps of the Monticello building. A full steps designation, denoted FS, means that all 6 steps leading to the building are clearly visible, which can be a challenge for older nickels due to wear and strike quality. A 1959 Jefferson nickel with a full steps designation can command much higher prices in the numismatic market. As mentioned, the full steps variety of the 1959 Jefferson nickel is a coveted collectible. These coins are difficult to find due to the frequent weakness in the Monticello steps caused by worn or poorly prepared dies. Even though 1959 was not known for particularly weak strikes, finding a full steps coin from this year is still a challenge, especially in high grades. The basic design of the Jefferson nickel remained largely unchanged from its introduction in 1938 until 2003, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. This consistency means that the 1959 Jefferson nickel looks very similar to nickels minted both before and after, with only minor differences in die quality and wear. The 1959 Jefferson nickel is part of a period of American coinage that remained stable before significant changes occurred in the following decades. By the 1960s, the U.S. Mint was faced with rising costs of metal and inflation, leading to the introduction of clad coins in other denominations, such as dimes and quarters, and a general decline in the use of precious metals. While the nickel remained unchanged in composition, it was minted during a time when the landscape of U.S. currency was about to shift. The choice to feature Jefferson on the nickel was a tribute to his significant contributions to American history, particularly his role in drafting the Declaration of Independence. Monticello, his beloved estate, symbolizes his architectural vision and commitment to agrarian values. The nickel serves as a small daily reminder of Jefferson's impact on the nation. Collectors always seek error coins, and while the 1959 Jefferson nickel does not have any well-known large-scale errors, individual coins with misstrikes or die flaws can be valuable. For instance, off-center strikes, die cracks, or improperly prepared dies can lead to interesting and valuable error coins that command higher prices on the numismatic market. The 1959 Jefferson nickel is an enduring piece of American coinage. While it may not be rare, its place in the long history of U.S. nickels makes it a favorite among collectors and history enthusiasts alike. Its connection to Thomas Jefferson, one of America's most influential founding fathers, and its design longevity add to its charm. Whether found in circulation or carefully preserved in collections, the 1959 Jefferson nickel serves as a symbol of both stability in U.S. coinage and the enduring legacy of Thomas Jefferson. According to our reliable source, a Jefferson nickel from 1959 in circulated condition is worth between 10 cents and 20 cents. However, on the open market, 1959 D nickels in pristine, uncirculated condition sell for as much as $1,000. The Jefferson nickel, introduced in 1938 and still in circulation today, is a staple of American coinage. Named after the third President of the United States, Thomas Jefferson, this 5-cent coin has seen minimal design changes over the years. The 1960 Jefferson nickel holds a special place in numismatic history due to its unique place in the transition between eras of U.S. coin production, design, and economic conditions. Let's explore the fascinating details and history behind the 1960 Jefferson nickel, as well as some interesting facts that make it worth discussing. The Jefferson nickel was first issued in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, which had been in circulation since 1913. The decision to place Thomas Jefferson on the nickel was made to honor his role in drafting the Declaration of Independence and serving as one of the country's founding fathers. The design of the coin was created by Felix Schlag, who won a national competition to design the coin's appearance. By 1960, the Jefferson nickel had already been circulating for over 2 decades. However, this period marked a time of transition in U.S. coinage, as increasing inflation and fluctuating metal prices would soon lead to changes in the materials used in American coins. The 1960 nickel represents the end of an era just before the sweeping changes that would reshape U.S. currency in the 1960s. The obverse of the 1960 Jefferson nickel features a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, based on a bust by French sculptor Jean-Antoine Houdon. Jefferson's profile is accompanied by the inscription, "In God We Trust," along the left rim, and "Liberty" along the right, followed by the year 1960. The design is simple yet iconic, symbolizing Jefferson's pivotal role in the early years of the United States. The reverse side of the coin depicts Jefferson's home, Monticello, a plantation located in Virginia. Above the image of Monticello is the inscription E pluribus unum, Latin for out of many one, which reflects the unity of the states. Below Monticello, the words Monticello and United States of America are inscribed, along with the denomination 5 cents. The 1960 Jefferson nickel is made from a metal composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel, which was the standard composition for nickels at that time. This combination of metals was durable and affordable, which is why it continued to be used even as the U.S. Mint prepared for significant changes to other coins in the coming years, such as the removal of silver from dimes and quarters in 1965. Jefferson nickels from 1960 were minted in 2 locations, Philadelphia and Denver. The Philadelphia minted nickels do not carry a mint mark, while the Denver minted coins have a small D mint mark, located on the reverse side to the right of Monticello. Collectors often seek out nickels from both mints, especially those in high grades, such as those designated mint state. The 1960 Jefferson nickel was minted just a few years before a major shift in U.S. coinage occurred in 1965, when silver was removed from dimes, quarters, and half dollars due to rising metal prices and a shortage of silver. While the nickel itself didn't undergo the same material changes, the 1960 edition represents a final moment of stability in the coin's production, before economic pressures began to alter other American coin denominations. The 1960 Jefferson nickel is relatively common in circulation, especially in lower grades. However, high-quality uncirculated nickels from 1960 can be of interest to collectors, particularly if they come from specific minting varieties. For example, full steps on Monticello, a well-struck detail on the reverse, are highly valued by collectors because they indicate a sharper and more precise strike of the coin, which was not always the case with nickels from this period. Proof nickels from 1960, minted in Philadelphia, were specially struck for collectors and feature a mirror-like finish with sharp details. These coins are struck multiple times to enhance the clarity of the design and are typically sold in sets. Proof coins from this era, especially those in pristine condition, can fetch higher prices in the numismatic market. One of the most interesting aspects of the 1960 Jefferson nickel is the existence of doubling errors, where certain parts of the coin appear to be struck twice. These double die errors occur during the minting process and are highly sought after by collectors. The doubling on the 1960 Jefferson nickel can sometimes be found on the date or on Jefferson's profile. Coins with this error can be significantly more valuable than standard strikes. In 1960, the purchasing power of a nickel was much greater than it is today. 5 cents in 1960 would be equivalent to about 50 cents in 2023, illustrating the impact of inflation over time. This makes it interesting to reflect on how the role of the nickel has evolved in everyday transactions, with its practical value significantly diminished in modern commerce. The Jefferson nickel has endured for over 8 decades, with only minor changes to its design and composition. The 1960 edition sits at a unique point in history, bridging the stable post-war economy of the 1950s and the upcoming changes to U.S. coinage during the economic turmoil of the 1960s. While not as valuable or rare as some other coins, the 1960 Jefferson nickel remains a favorite among collectors, especially those interested in varieties, mint errors, or high-grade examples. The 1960 Jefferson nickel may appear to be just another common coin in circulation, but it holds a significant place in the broader history of U.S. coinage. From its timeless design, honoring one of America's greatest leaders, to its role in a rapidly changing economic landscape, this coin continues to fascinate numismatists and history enthusiasts alike. Whether viewed through the lens of a collector or a casual observer, the 1960 Jefferson nickel is a small yet enduring symbol of American history and economic evolution. According to our reliable source, a Jefferson nickel from 1960 in circulated condition is worth between 10 cents and 20 cents. However, on the open market 1960, nickels in pristine, uncirculated condition sell for as much as $300. The 1961 Jefferson nickel holds a special place in U.S. numismatics, not only as a piece of American history, but also as a representative of mid-20th century coinage. First introduced in 1938, the Jefferson nickel replaced the Buffalo nickel, and it has been a staple of U.S. currency ever since. While 1961 might not be a particularly rare year for the Jefferson nickel, the coin still carries fascinating details, both in terms of its production and its place in numismatic collections. The 1961 Jefferson nickel retains the design first introduced in 1938, created by Felix Schlag. The obverse of the coin features a left-facing profile of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and principal author of the Declaration of Independence. His strong profile is complemented by the inscription, "In God We Trust," on the left, with the word "Liberty" and the date 1961 on the right. The reverse of the coin displays an image of Monticello, Jefferson's famous plantation home in Virginia. The words "E pluribus unum," which means "out of many, one," are inscribed above the dome of Monticello. Below the image, you will find the denomination 5 cents and the name United States of America. The 1961 Jefferson nickel, like other nickels from its era, is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, which gives it a silver-like appearance despite containing no actual silver. This metallic composition makes the coin relatively durable compared to other denominations that included more precious or softer metals. The coin weighs 5 grams and measures 21.21 millimeters in diameter. The 1961 nickel was produced at 2 mints: Philadelphia, which used no mint mark, and Denver, which featured a D mint mark. There was no San Francisco minting for this year. The Philadelphia Mint produced about 76.7 million coins, while the Denver Mint produced a larger mintage of approximately 229.3 million. In 1961, the Philadelphia Mint did not use any mint marks. This lack of a mark can sometimes confuse new collectors, but it's a distinguishing feature of coins from that mint. The Denver Mint, on the other hand, prominently displayed a D mint mark on the reverse, to the right of Monticello. For collectors, proof coins are always of particular interest. In 1961, the U.S. Mint produced around 3 million proof Jefferson nickels, struck with extra care on specially prepared planchets. Proof coins are known for their sharp details and reflective surfaces, making them a favorite among numismatists. These coins were minted in Philadelphia and are prized for their higher quality. Though 1961 was not a major year for significant errors or varieties, some collectors hunt for minor variations in the dies. Die cracks, die clashes, and other small imperfections can sometimes be found in Jefferson nickels from this era, which can increase the value of individual coins. However, no major minting errors or varieties from 1961 have captured widespread attention. The 1961 Jefferson nickel was minted during an era of significant change and growth in the United States. It was a time of optimism and innovation, with the space race in full swing and civil rights movements gaining momentum. Thomas Jefferson, as a founding father and advocate of liberty and democracy, remained a fitting figure to represent the nation's ideals during this period. The coin served not only as a medium of exchange, but also as a symbol of the enduring principles of American governance and the pursuit of progress. From a numismatic perspective, the 1961 Jefferson nickel is not considered rare or particularly valuable in most cases, especially in circulated condition. Most coins from this year, in average circulated condition, are worth only their face value, 5 cents. However, uncirculated coins, proof coins, or those in mint state MS grades can be worth more, with some mint state examples fetching a few dollars. A Jefferson nickel from 1961 in MS-65 condition, where the coin has nearly perfect surfaces with only minor imperfections, can be worth around $15 to $20, depending on market conditions and demand. One of the most sought-after varieties in Jefferson nickels is the full steps designation. This refers to the steps on Monticello's front entrance being fully visible and unbroken, which is often a difficult feature to preserve due to wear or weak strikes. Coins from 1961 with a full steps designation can command significantly higher prices, as these coins are rarer. The 1961 Jefferson nickel is a staple for those interested in assembling a complete collection of Jefferson nickels from 1938 to the present day. While not a key date, its importance lies in rounding out a full set. For casual collectors, it's an affordable way to own a piece of American history. For more dedicated numismatists, acquiring high-grade or proof versions of this coin presents a challenge that can add value to a collection. While the 1961 Jefferson nickel may not be a rare or highly valuable coin in most circumstances, it remains an interesting and collectible piece of U.S. coinage. Its historical significance, as well as the legacy of Thomas Jefferson himself, lends the coin an enduring appeal. Whether you are a casual coin enthusiast or a dedicated numismatist, the 1961 Jefferson nickel is a coin worth knowing about for its design, historical context, and potential value in higher grades. According to our reliable source, the 1961 Jefferson nickels with a deep cameo effect are rarer than other proof coins and are thus more valuable on the coin market. Their value depends on their grade, so you should count on proof 66 graded coins are worth $60. Proof 67 graded coins are worth $175. The 1962 Jefferson nickel is a fascinating coin that reflects both the legacy of Thomas Jefferson and the changing dynamics of U.S. coinage during the mid-20th century. Though it is not particularly rare or extremely valuable to collectors, the 1962 Jefferson nickel carries historical significance, distinct design elements, and interesting numismatic features that make it worth exploring. The Jefferson nickel was first minted in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. Designed by Felix Schlag, the coin features a profile of the third U.S. president, Thomas Jefferson, on the obverse, and an image of his Virginia home, Monticello, on the reverse. The design remained mostly unchanged until the Westward Journey series of nickels was introduced in 2004, which briefly altered the reverse and obverse before reverting to a modified version of Schlag's original design in 2006. The 1962 Jefferson nickel was minted in both Philadelphia and Denver, and its composition consisted of 75% copper and 25% nickel. Unlike modern nickels, which have undergone modifications in terms of design and production, the 1962 version remained loyal to the original specifications. One interesting feature of the 1962 Jefferson nickel minted in Philadelphia is that it lacks a mint mark. It wasn't until 1980 that the Philadelphia Mint began using the P mint mark on Jefferson nickels. Therefore, if you see a 1962 nickel with no mint mark, it is likely from Philadelphia. Nickels from Denver, however, feature a D mint mark just to the right of Monticello on the reverse side. The early 1960s were a time of significant cultural and political changes in the United States, and coinage of the era reflects the nation's stability and sense of continuity. The Jefferson nickel, particularly from 1962, carries the legacy of one of the nation's founding fathers, who is celebrated for authoring the Declaration of Independence and for his presidency. Minted in a time before the major silver shortages of the mid-1960s that led to a shift in the composition of many U.S. coins, the 1962 nickel represents a continuation of pre-silver change coinage tradition. Both the Philadelphia and Denver mints produced large numbers of the 1962 Jefferson nickel. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 97 million nickels, while the Denver Mint produced over 280 million. This high production volume means that the 1962 Jefferson nickel is not considered particularly rare, and many examples in circulated condition can still be found in circulation today. However, high-grade uncirculated examples, particularly those with full steps on the Monticello building, a sign of a sharp strike, can still be valuable to collectors. The condition of a coin is a key factor in determining its value. The 1962 Jefferson nickel, like many coins, is graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect uncirculated coin. Coins that show minimal wear and tear, graded MS 65 and above, are more valuable to collectors. Additionally, the full steps designation, which refers to the clarity of the steps on Monticello, can significantly increase the value of a Jefferson nickel. Full steps are a mark of a strong strike, and are often difficult to find on older nickels due to worn dies. The enduring design of the Jefferson nickel is a testament to its appeal. Felix Schlag's depiction of Jefferson was based on a bust by sculptor Jean-Antoine Houdon, capturing a realistic yet idealized profile of the former president. Monticello, Jefferson's iconic neoclassical home, is prominently featured on the reverse, symbolizing his contributions to architecture, politics, and American ideals. One of the defining characteristics of the 1962 Jefferson nickel, as with all Jefferson nickels prior to 1965, is its composition. It is made from a copper-nickel alloy, with no precious metals like silver or gold. This composition was introduced in 1866, and was one of the first U.S. coins to be made of this metal combination. The 1962 Jefferson nickel is sometimes referred to as part of the modern nickel era because, unlike earlier coins, it was not minted with any valuable metals, Due to the large mintage numbers, the 1962 Jefferson nickel is not particularly rare in circulated condition. However, collectors do seek out coins in uncirculated condition with pristine surfaces, and coins that exhibit the full steps on Monticello are especially coveted. In higher grades, such as MS-66 or MS-67, these nickels can fetch a price of anywhere from $20 to $100, though examples in lower grades are typically only worth their face value or slightly more to a casual collector. While the 1962 Jefferson nickel may not be a coin of immense rarity or value, it remains a noteworthy piece of American numismatic history. Its historical context, enduring design, and specific production details offer collectors and enthusiasts a glimpse into the era and a tangible connection to the legacy of Thomas Jefferson. Whether found in circulation or carefully curated in a collection, the 1962 Jefferson nickel carries a piece of U.S. history in its copper-nickel alloy, representing both the past and the continuity of American ideals. The Jefferson nickel, minted since 1938, is an iconic piece of American currency. Named after the third U.S. President, Thomas Jefferson, it has undergone subtle variations over the years, but has remained a staple in U.S. coinage. The 1963 Jefferson nickel stands out as a fascinating piece, both for its historical context and the design elements that make it unique. The obverse of the 1963 Jefferson nickel features a profile portrait of Thomas Jefferson, designed by Felix Schlag. Schlag won a competition in 1938 to design the coin, and his rendering of Jefferson has become one of the most recognized images in U.S. coinage. The bust shows Jefferson facing left, with the words, "In God We Trust," inscribed along the left side of the coin, and "Liberty" on the right, accompanied by the minting year, 1963. Schlag's design captures a dignified, serious expression on Jefferson's face, reflecting his legacy as the author of the Declaration of Independence and a pivotal figure in shaping the early republic. A notable detail of the obverse is the level of precision in the depiction of Jefferson's features, particularly in his hair and high forehead, reflecting the 18th-century style of portraiture. Though Schlag's original design has seen some revisions, such as adjustments to the relief and slight alterations to the positioning of the text, the 1963 nickel still closely resembles the original 1938 design. It remained in place until 2005 when the U.S. Mint introduced new versions as part of the Westward Journey series. The reverse side of the 1963 Jefferson nickel showcases Jefferson's famous home, Monticello, an architectural masterpiece designed by Jefferson himself. The inscription, E Pluribus Unum, sits above Monticello, with the building's name directly below the structure. Beneath this is the denomination 5 cents and the country of origin, United States of America. Monticello is depicted in a classical frontal view, showing its rounded dome, symmetrical layout, and the columns of its portico. This design element not only celebrates Jefferson's contribution to architecture, but also his deep interest in classical forms, which he believed symbolized democracy and order. Felix Schlag's original reverse design actually did not include the level of architectural detail seen in later versions. His first submission for the coin depicted a more stylized, less precise version of Monticello. The Mint requested revisions, asking Schlag to emphasize more realistic architectural details of the building. This resulted in the version seen in the 1963 coin, which features a far more intricate rendering of Monticello's design elements. The 1963 Jefferson nickel was minted primarily in Philadelphia, although the Denver Mint also produced versions of the coin, identifiable by the D mint mark. Like most coins of the early 1960s, it was made from a combination of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it the characteristic silvery appearance. From a historical standpoint, the 1963 nickel is particularly interesting because it was one of the last nickels minted before the significant changes to U.S. coinage in the mid-1960s. The Coinage Act of 1965 would soon eliminate silver from most circulating coins, marking a shift in the metal content of American coinage due to rising costs of silver and increased demand for coins. Although the Jefferson nickel was not impacted by this act, being made of base metals, the era surrounding its minting represents a transitional period in U.S. coin production. While the 1963 Jefferson nickel is not considered rare, High-quality specimens, especially those in mint state or proof condition, can hold value to collectors. The 1963 nickel from the Denver Mint with a D mint mark is often sought after in higher grades due to its slightly lower mintage compared to the Philadelphia counterpart. The 1963 Jefferson nickel is more than just a 5-cent piece. It is a symbol of American history and artistry. Its obverse features a timeless portrait of one of the nation's founding fathers, while its reverse celebrates the architectural legacy of Jefferson's Monticello. Though common in circulation, the design intricacies and historical context of this coin make it an enduring object of interest for numismatists and history enthusiasts alike. According to our reliable source, a Jefferson nickel from 1963 in circulated condition is worth between 10 cents and 20 cents. However, on the open market, 1963, nickels in pristine, uncirculated condition sell for as much as $550. The 1964 Jefferson nickel was minted during a tumultuous period in U.S. economic history. The early 1960s saw a rise in the demand for coinage due to an expanding economy and the popularity of coin collecting as a hobby. This demand put a strain on the U.S. Mint's ability to supply coins, leading to a coin shortage that became so severe by the mid-1960s that it affected the circulation of nickels, dimes, and quarters. In response to the shortage, the U.S. Congress passed legislation to eliminate mint marks on all coins between 1965 and 1967 in an effort to discourage hoarding. However, 1964 was the last year the U.S. Mint produced coins with a mint mark before the change, making the 1964 Jefferson nickel one of the final coins of its era to bear a mint mark, either a D for the Denver Mint or no mint mark for the Philadelphia Mint. The design of the Jefferson nickel has remained relatively consistent throughout its history. The obverse of the 1964 Jefferson nickel features a left-facing profile portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States. The portrait was designed by sculptor Felix Schlag in 1938 and has remained largely unchanged in most Jefferson nickels. Schlag's design was chosen from a public competition to replace the Buffalo nickel. Jefferson is depicted in a classical, stately pose, reflecting his role as a founding father and one of the most prominent figures in U.S. history. "In God We Trust." This is inscribed along the left edge, positioned in front of Jefferson's face. "Liberty" appears to the right of the portrait, along with the date, 1964. The Liberty inscription and date are separated by a small 5-pointed star. The reverse of the 1964 Jefferson nickel features a depiction of Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's famous home in Virginia. Monticello was also designed by Felix Schlag, and its architectural beauty is showcased prominently on the coin. The image shows a front view of Monticello, emphasizing its neoclassical columns, dome, and symmetry. Schlag's rendering of Monticello is one of the key identifying features of the Jefferson nickel, and has been a constant element of its design. E pluribus unum. Located at the top of the reverse, this Latin phrase means, out of many, one, and reflects the union of the original 13 colonies into a single nation. Monticello appears directly beneath the image of Jefferson's estate, identifying the structure depicted. United States of America. Arched along the bottom rim of the coin, this inscription denotes the country of origin. 5 cents. The denomination is also inscribed along the bottom, just above United States of America. The 1964 nickel was made of 75% copper and 25% nickel, a composition that has been standard for nickels since the end of World War II, when wartime nickels contained silver. The coin weighs 5 grams and has a diameter of 21.21 millimeters. One of the most important aspects of the reverse for collectors is the full steps designation. On well-struck coins, the steps leading up to Monticello are fully visible and well-defined. A coin with all 5 or 6 steps fully visible and unbroken by wear or weak strikes is considered more valuable. However, due to the high production rates in 1964, finding Jefferson nickels with fully detailed steps is relatively rare. Coin collectors often value Jefferson nickels based on the condition of Monticello's steps on the reverse of the coin. If the steps are fully visible and well struck, the coin is considered to have full steps, which significantly increases its value to collectors. However, finding a 1964 Jefferson nickel with full steps is quite rare due to the high production numbers and the speed at which the mint was working to meet demand during the coin shortage. This makes well-preserved examples from 1964 particularly valuable. The 1964 nickel stands as a symbol of a larger transition in U.S. coinage. While the nickel itself did not contain silver, its production took place during a period when other coins, like dimes, quarters, and half-dollars, were transitioning away from silver due to rising silver prices and the need for a less costly alternative. By 1965, most circulating coins in the United States no longer contained silver, and the 1964 Jefferson nickel represents one of the last coins produced before this significant shift. Some 1964 Jefferson nickels have been found with a doubling error on the obverse, particularly in Jefferson's eye or the lettering. These doubled die error coins are rare and highly sought after by collectors, fetching premiums significantly higher than face value when discovered in good condition. The 1964 Jefferson nickel is a fascinating coin for several reasons. It marks the end of an era with its mint marks, is an example of the immense demand for coinage during the mid-20th century, and contains interesting variations like the full steps and doubling errors that appeal to collectors. While not a rare coin in terms of overall mintage, the 1964 Jefferson nickel holds a special place in U.S. numismatic history, symbolizing both the continuity of the Jefferson nickel design and the significant transitions in American coinage during the 1960s. Below are the highest historical auction records for the 1964 D nickel. As of 2023, the NGC values the 1964 nickel from Philadelphia between $0.1 and $0.120 in circulated condition, between 25 cents and $500 in uncirculated mint state, and between $20 and $15,000 in full steps designation.
The 1969 Jefferson nickel is a coin that holds a modest yet fascinating place in American numismatic history. While not particularly rare or exceptionally valuable, it is representative of an era of significant cultural and economic change in the United States. From its design to its production details, the 1969 Jefferson nickel has several aspects worth exploring. The Jefferson nickel, first introduced in 1938, features a portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and principal author of the Declaration of Independence. Designed by Felix Schlag, the obverse of the coin displays Jefferson's profile facing left, with the inscriptions "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" flanking the image. The reverse showcases Jefferson's estate, Monticello, accompanied by the words "E pluribus unum" and "United States of America." The 1969 Jefferson nickel maintained the standard composition of nickels issued since 1946, 75% copper and 25% nickel. This alloy was chosen for its durability and resistance to wear, as the nickel was intended for heavy circulation. The coin weighs 5 grams and has a diameter of 21.2 millimeters, consistent with all nickels minted since 1866. In 1969, Jefferson nickels were struck at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D mint mark; and San Francisco, S mint mark. While most nickels from this year are common, there are subtle distinctions and nuances between them. Philadelphia, mint, no mint mark. Coins minted in Philadelphia lack a mint mark and were produced in large numbers for general circulation. These are among the most commonly encountered 1969 nickels. Denver Mint, D mint mark. The Denver Mint also struck millions of nickels in 1969. The D mint mark appears on the reverse of the coin to the right of Monticello. San Francisco Mint, S mint mark. San Francisco produced 1969 nickels primarily for proof sets. These coins have a mirror-like finish and sharper details, making them highly sought after by collectors. End of an era for San Francisco proof nickels. The 1969 Jefferson nickel proofs marked the last year of their production at the San Francisco Mint until proof coinage resumed there in 1971. During this gap, the production process underwent significant modernization. Subtle design changes. Although the Jefferson Nickle's design has remained relatively consistent, minor modifications to Felix Schlag's original work were made in the 1960s. These changes, like sharper details in Jefferson's hair and Monticello's facade, are present on the 1969 coins. Collector demand for proof. Coins. The 1969 S-proof nickel is particularly notable for its high quality and limited distribution. Proof coins were sold as part of proof sets, making them more valuable and collectible than their circulation counterparts. Historical context. The year 1969 was a period of significant change in the United States, marked by the moon landing, the Vietnam War, and social upheavals. Coins like the Jefferson nickel serve as tangible links to this transformative era. Potential for errors. Like all coins, some 1969 Jefferson nickels were struck with minting errors, such as off-center strikes, double dies, or repunched mint marks. These errors are rare and can significantly increase a coin's value to collectors. The 1969 Jefferson nickel is an accessible entry point for novice coin collectors due to its affordability and widespread availability. Circulated examples can often be found in pocket change, while uncirculated and proof versions are typically purchased through coin dealers or online marketplaces. Collectors often seek to assemble a complete set of Jefferson nickels by year and mint mark, making the 1969 coins essential to their collections. While it may not be the rarest or most valuable coin, the 1969 Jefferson nickel represents a rich history of American coinage and provides a glimpse into the culture and economy of its time. Its enduring design, historical connections, and collector appeal make it an interesting subject for both casual enthusiasts and dedicated numismatists. Whether found in a proof set or as loose change, the 1969 Jefferson nickel continues to be a small yet significant piece of American history. According to the NGC Price Guide, a Jefferson nickel from 1969 in circulated condition is worth between 10 cents and 20 cents. However, on the open market, 1969 ace nickels in pristine, uncirculated condition sell for as much as $500. The 1970 Jefferson nickel is a part of the long-running Jefferson nickel series, which began in 1938. Designed by Felix Schlag, the coin features a portrait of President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his historic Monticello home on the reverse. Although the Jefferson nickel is not a rare coin series in general, the 1970 Jefferson nickel carries its own unique characteristics and historical significance, making it a topic of interest among collectors and numismatists. The design of the Jefferson nickel remains one of the most enduring and recognizable in U.S. coinage. Schlag's design won a national competition in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. The obverse shows a left-facing portrait of Jefferson, while the reverse showcases Monticello, his plantation home in Virginia. The coin's inscriptions include E pluribus unum, United States of America, and 5 cents, along with the year of minting. The 1970 Jefferson nickel was minted at 3 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D mint mark; and San Francisco, S mint mark. The mint marks are found on the reverse of the coin, to the right of Monticello. Here's a breakdown of the mintages. 1970, Philadelphia mint, no mint mark. 1970 D. The Denver mint produced the largest quantity, making these coins relatively common. 1970 S. San Francisco mint. These nickels are more notable as they were struck in proof condition, targeted toward collectors. The proof coins from the San Francisco mint were struck with polished dies, resulting in highly reflective surfaces. These coins are particularly prized among collectors. The 1970 Jefferson nickel was minted during a significant time in U.S. history, as the country was undergoing social and political changes. This period saw the continuation of the Vietnam War and the rise of countercultural movements. Proof coins and collectability. Proof coins minted at the San Francisco Mint are some of the most appealing examples of the 1970 Jefferson nickel. They often exhibit deep cameo contrasts, where the frosted design stands out against the mirror-like background, errors and varieties. Some 1970 Jefferson nickels are known for striking errors, such as off-center strikes, die cracks, or weak strikes, which can make them valuable to error coin collectors. Another variety of interest is the full steps designation on the reverse. A Jefferson nickel with fully visible steps on Monticello is rare because the design is prone to striking weakness. Like all collectible coins, the value of a 1970 Jefferson nickel largely depends on its condition. Coins in mint state or proof condition are more valuable than circulated examples. The coin reflects a stable period in U.S. coinage. Unlike earlier years of the Jefferson nickel series, when silver and wartime alloys were used, the 1970 nickels were made of 75% copper and 25% nickel, a standard composition still in use today. Most 1970 Jefferson nickels found in circulation are worth their face value of 5 cents. However, uncirculated or proof examples can fetch higher prices, particularly if they are graded by professional organizations like the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or the Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC. Coins with errors, or those featuring full steps, can command premiums ranging from a few dollars to over $100, depending on rarity and demand. The 1970 Jefferson nickel is not just a simple piece of U.S. currency, but a small artifact of American history and craftsmanship. Though common in circulation, the coin holds a special place in the hearts of collectors, particularly those seeking error coins, proof examples, or high-grade specimens. Its enduring design and connection to a pivotal era in American history make it an interesting topic for numismatists and history enthusiasts alike. Whether you're a seasoned collector or a casual enthusiast, the 1970 Jefferson nickel offers something worth appreciating. According to the NGC Price Guide, a Jefferson nickel from 1970 in circulated condition is worth between 10 cents and 20 cents. However, on the open market 1970s, nickels in pristine, uncirculated condition sell for as much as $175. The 1973 Jefferson nickel is an intriguing coin within the history of U.S. numismatics, offering collectors and enthusiasts a glimpse into the evolution of American coinage. Designed by German-American sculptor Felix Schlag, the Jefferson nickel has been in circulation since 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. It features an obverse portrait of President Thomas Jefferson and an image of Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate, on the reverse. The 1973 Jefferson nickel was struck during a time of economic change and rising inflation in the United States. It was minted in two primary locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, marked with a D. Additionally, a proof version of the coin was produced at the San Francisco Mint, marked with an S, for collectors. Coins from this era were composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, a durable composition designed to withstand heavy use. The year 1973 did not see any major design changes to the Jefferson nickel, as the design remained consistent with Schlag's original creation. However, this period marked a time when the U.S. Mint was experimenting with alternative materials for coins due to rising metal costs. In 1973, the Philadelphia Mint produced approximately 384.3 million nickels, while the Denver Mint struck around 352.9 million. The San Francisco Mint contributed with over 2.7 million proof coins, making the total mintage figures substantial for this year. Proof versions of the 1973 Jefferson nickel are highly sought after by collectors due to their superior strike quality and mirror-like finish. These coins were specially made for collectors and were intended for general circulation. The absence of a mint mark on coins from Philadelphia was standard practice until 1980. This lack of a distinguishing feature sometimes leads novice collectors to mistake Philadelphia minted coins for rare errors or special issues. While the 1973 Jefferson nickel does not have a well-known or significant error variety, collectors often search for minor anomalies such as die cracks, off-center strikes, or doubled dies that can enhance a coin's value. The Jefferson nickel's copper-nickel composition was introduced in 1866 and has remained consistent for standard nickels, except during World War II. From 1942 to 1945, nickels were made of a silver alloy to conserve nickel for the war effort. This change created the war nickels, which are distinct from the 1973 version. The 1973 Jefferson nickel is an affordable and accessible coin for collectors of all experience levels. Circulated examples are common and typically worth their face value, while uncirculated and proof specimens can command a premium. Coins, graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, especially those in higher grades, are particularly attractive to serious collectors. Collectors may also find it rewarding to assemble a complete set of Jefferson nickels, including different mint marks and varieties. The 1973 coin represents a crucial link in this chain, contributing to the continuity of one of America's longest-running coin designs. The enduring appeal of the Jefferson nickel lies in its timeless design and connection to American history. Felix Schlag's depiction of Thomas Jefferson in Monticello remains iconic, symbolizing the values and heritage of the United States. The 1973 Jefferson nickel, though not rare or revolutionary, serves as a tangible reminder of the period's economic and cultural landscape, offering numismatists a small but meaningful piece of history, both standard and cameo-proof. 1973 nickels are in abundant supply. For a coin to be worth more than $1, it needs to be a deep cameo. Values for those start at $3 at PR60, rising to $5 at PR65. Even a practically perfect PR69 example is worth only around $15. According to the NGC price guide, a Jefferson nickel from 1973 in circulated condition is worth between 10 cents and 20 cents. However, on the open market, 1973 D-nickels in pristine, uncirculated condition sell for as much as $200. The Jefferson nickel is one of the most recognizable coins in U.S. currency, and the 1974 edition holds a special place in numismatic history. First introduced in 1938 to replace the Buffalo nickel, the Jefferson nickel has undergone several design changes over the years. The 1974 nickel, while not particularly rare, has some interesting aspects worth exploring, including its composition, mint marks, and historical context. The Jefferson nickel was created to honor Thomas Jefferson, the third U.S. president and principal author of the Declaration of Independence. The obverse of the coin features a left-facing portrait of Jefferson, designed by artist Felix Schlag, who won a competition held by the U.S. Mint. The reverse originally depicted Jefferson's Virginia home, Monticello. By 1974, the Jefferson nickel had been in circulation for over 3 decades. The coin's composition, at the time, consisted of 75% copper and 25% nickel, a formula that had remained unchanged since its introduction, except for the wartime years of 1948, 1942 to 1945, when nickels were made with silver and manganese due to nickel's need in World War II. In 1974, Jefferson nickel was produced at 3 U.S. mints: Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. The San Francisco Mint produced only proof coins for collectors, not circulation strikes. A notable variety is the 1974 D nickel with a doubled die obverse, DDO, where parts of Jefferson's portrait and the inscriptions appear slightly doubled. These are sought after by collectors. Unlike the 1942 to 1945 wartime nickels, the 1974 nickel contained no silver. It reverted to the standard copper-nickel alloy. Philadelphia Mint, 601,752,000. Denver Mint, 277,373,000. San Francisco, Proof, 2,612,568. Despite the high mintage, well-preserved specimens, especially proofs and error coins, can still hold value. In 1975 and 1976, the U.S. Mint released special bicentennial coins, including a temporary redesign of the nickel's reverse featuring a colonial drummer. The 1974 nickel was the last regular-issue Jefferson nickel before this change. While most 1974 nickels are common, errors such as off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or the doubled die obverse can make certain coins valuable. Unless in pristine, uncirculated condition or with a rare error, a 1974 nickel is generally worth only its face value. However, proof coins from San Francisco can fetch a few dollars depending on their condition. The 1974 Jefferson nickel may not be the rarest or most valuable coin in U.S. numismatics, but it represents an important piece of American coinage history. Its classic design, connection to Thomas Jefferson, and role as the last standard issue before the bicentennial series make it an interesting piece for collectors. Whether found in pocket change or acquired as part of a collection, the 1974 nickel remains a small but meaningful artifact of the mid-20th century. According to the NGC price guide, a Jefferson nickel from 1974 in circulated condition is worth between 10 cents and 20 cents. However, on the open market, 1,974 nickels in pristine, uncirculated condition sell for as much as $200. The Jefferson nickel is one of the longest-running coin series in U.S. history, first introduced in 1938 to honor Thomas Jefferson, the nation's third president. The 1975 Jefferson nickel holds a unique place in numismatic history due to its production details, mint marks, and the economic context of its era. The Jefferson nickel was designed by Felix Schlag, who won a competition held by the U.S. Mint in 1938. His original design featured a left-facing portrait of Jefferson on the obverse, and his Virginia home, Monticello, on the reverse. The coin has undergone minor modifications over the years but remained largely unchanged until 2004 when the Westward Journey series introduced new reverse designs. By 1975, the U.S. was experiencing economic challenges, including inflation, which affected coin production. The nickel's composition, 75% copper, 25% nickel, remained the same, but mintages fluctuated based on demand. In 1975, Jefferson nickels were struck at two mints: Philadelphia Mint, no mint mark, 181,770,000; Denver Mint, D mint mark, 401,875,300. The Denver Mint produced significantly more nickels than Philadelphia that year, making the Philadelphia issue slightly scarcer in uncirculated condition. However, neither is considered rare, as both were struck in large quantities. One of the most notable varieties for Jefferson nickels occurred in 1971, when some proof coins were accidentally struck without the S mint mark. However, by 1975, the San Francisco Mint, which produced proof coins, correctly included the S mint mark on all proof nickels. Thus, unlike some earlier years, there are no known no S mint mark errors for 1975. Despite the large number of nickels produced in 1975, finding them in pristine, uncirculated condition is challenging because most entered circulation and wore down over time. 1975 was the final year before the U.S. Mint released special bicentennial quarters, half dollars and dollars in 1976. The Jefferson nickel, however, did not receive a special design for the bicentennial. By the mid-1970s, the U.S. Mint was modernizing its production processes, leading to more consistent strikes. However, some 1975 nickels may still exhibit weak strikes, particularly on Monticello's steps. While common in circulated condition, a 1975 nickel in MS65 or higher grade can be desirable to collectors. Full step, FS. Examples, where all 5 steps of Monticello are clearly visible, are especially sought after. The 1975 Jefferson nickel may not be the rarest or most valuable coin in U.S. history, but it remains an interesting piece for collectors. Its high mintage ensures availability, while well-preserved specimens with full steps offer a challenge for numismatists. As part of the long-running Jefferson series, the 1975 nickel represents a snapshot of mid-1970s America, just before the wave of bicentennial coinage began. Whether you're a casual collector or a serious numismatist, the 1975 Jefferson nickel is a worthwhile addition to any collection, offering both historical significance and the thrill of the hunt for high-grade examples. According to the NGC Price Guide, a Jefferson nickel from 1975 in circulated condition is worth between 10 cents and 20 cents. However, on the open market, 1975 nickels in pristine, uncirculated condition sell for as much as $75. The Jefferson nickel is one of the most enduring coins in U.S. history, first minted in 1938 to honor Thomas Jefferson, the nation's 3rd president. The 1976 Jefferson nickel holds a special place in numismatics due to its unique historical context and notable minting details. The Jefferson nickel was introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. The coin features a portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, front, and his home, Monticello, on the reverse, back. The design, created by Felix Schlag, remained largely unchanged until 2004. 1976 was a significant year in U.S. history, marking the bicentennial of American independence. While quarters, half dollars, and dollar coins received special bicentennial designs, the nickel kept its traditional appearance. However, the 1976 Jefferson nickel remains notable among collectors for its minting details and potential errors. In 1976, Jefferson nickels were produced at 3 U.S. mint facilities. Philadelphia, no mint mark, produced the highest number of nickels. Denver, D mint mark, slightly lower mintage than Philadelphia. San Francisco, S mint mark, struck only for proof sets, not for circulation. Unlike other coins in 1976, the nickel did not receive a special bicentennial design. The U.S. Mint focused on modifying the quarter, half dollar, and dollar coins instead. The San Francisco Mint struck proof nickels with a mirror-like finish for collectors. These coins carry the S mint mark and are more valuable than regular circulation strikes. Some 1976 nickels exhibit doubled dies or off-center strikes, making them rare and valuable. Look for coins with unusual markings or misprints, as error coins can fetch higher prices. Like all Jefferson nickels from 1938 to present, except wartime 1942 to 1945. The 1976 nickel is made of 75% copper and 25% nickel. The 1976 Jefferson nickel may not have a bicentennial design, but it remains an interesting piece of U.S. coinage history. Its connection to America's 200th anniversary, along with potential rare errors and proof versions, makes it a notable coin for collectors. While most 1976 nickels are not highly valuable, examining them for unique features can sometimes reveal hidden treasures in pocket change. Whether you're a casual collector or a serious numismatist, The 1976 Jefferson nickel is a fascinating piece of American minting history worth exploring. According to the NGC price guide, a Jefferson nickel from 1976 in circulated condition is worth between 10 cents and 20 cents. However, on the open market, 1,976 nickels in pristine, uncirculated condition sell for as much as $150. The Jefferson nickel, first minted in 1938, is one of the most enduring and widely circulated coins in U.S. history. The 1977 edition of this 5-cent piece carries historical significance, reflecting both the traditional design elements of the series and the economic conditions of its time. The Jefferson nickel was introduced to replace the Buffalo nickel, 1913 to 1938, as part of a redesign effort spearheaded by the U.S. Mint. The coin features a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third U.S. president and principal author of the Declaration of Independence, on the obverse. The reverse originally depicted Monticello, Jefferson's iconic Virginia estate. The design was created by German-American sculptor Felix Schlag, who won a competition for the commission. His original reverse design included the word Monticello in large letters, but this was later modified in 1966 to a smaller, more refined font. Like all Jefferson nickels from 1938 to 2003, the 1977 nickel is made of 75% copper and 5% nickel, 25% nickel, giving it a distinctive silver-like appearance. The 1977 nickels were struck at 3 U.S. mint facilities: Philadelphia, no mint mark; the most common version, Denver, D, mint mark, slightly scarcer than the Philadelphia issue; San Francisco, S, mint mark, only produced for proof sets, not circulation; Philadelphia, 297,313,460, Denver, 232,977,500, San Francisco, proof, 3,251,152. By 1977, the Jefferson nickel had remained largely unchanged since its introduction, making it a stable and familiar coin in American pockets. The San Francisco Mint produced proof nickels in 1977, but stopped including the S mint mark on circulation coins after 1954. The S mint mark returned to circulation nickels in 1968, but was again discontinued after 1977 until the 2010s. Unlike earlier nickels, 1942 to 1945 war nickels, which contained 35% silver, the 1977 nickel had no precious metal value, making it less sought after by collectors at the time. Despite billions minted, many 1977 nickels remain in circulation today due to their durability and lack of intrinsic metal value. While no major errors are widely documented for 1977, some may exhibit minor die cracks or striking imperfections, which can interest error collectors. The 1977 Jefferson nickel may not be the most valuable coin in U.S. numismatics, but it represents an important piece of American coinage history. Its classic design, connection to Thomas Jefferson, and role in everyday commerce make it an enduring symbol of the late 20th century U.S. monetary system. For collectors, finding a well-preserved 1977 nickel, especially a Denver or proof version, can be a small but satisfying addition to a numismatic collection. According to the NGC price guide, a Jefferson nickel from 1977 in circulated condition is worth between 10 cents and 20 cents. However, on the open market, 1977 D nickels in pristine, uncirculated condition sell for as much as $190. The Jefferson nickel is one of the most recognizable coins in U.S. currency, having been minted continuously since 1938. The 1978 Jefferson nickel is part of this long-standing series and carries both historical significance and interesting numismatic details. While not particularly rare, this coin remains a fascinating piece of American coinage history. The Jefferson nickel was introduced in 1938 to replace the Buffalo nickel. The U.S. Mint held a competition to design a new nickel featuring President Thomas Jefferson, and the winning artist was Felix Schlag, a German-born sculptor. His original design depicted Jefferson on the obverse and his Virginia home, Monticello, on the reverse. By 1978, the Jefferson nickel had undergone some changes, including modifications to Jefferson's portrait and the removal of Schlag's initials, which were later restored in 1966. The 1978 nickel was struck in large numbers, with over 400 million produced across the Philadelphia No Mint Mark, Denver D, and San Francisco S mints. The obverse side features a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," left side, "Liberty," and the date, 1978, right side. The reverse depicts Jefferson's historic home, Monticello, with the inscriptions, "E pluribus unum." Above, Monticello. Monticello, 5 cents. United States of America. Unlike wartime nickels, 1942 to 1945, which contained 35% silver, the 1978 nickel is made of 75% copper and 25% nickel. While no major errors are widely reported for 1978, some coins may exhibit double dies or off-center strikes, which can increase their value. Since billions of Jefferson nickels were produced in the 1970s, most 1978 nickels are only worth face value, unless in pristine, uncirculated, or proof condition. The Jefferson nickel's design remained largely unchanged until 2004, when the Westward Journey series introduced new reverse designs. The 1978 Jefferson nickel may not be rare, but it represents an important era in U.S. coinage. Its classic design, historical ties to Thomas Jefferson, and role in everyday commerce make it a noteworthy piece for both casual collectors and numismatists. While most examples are only worth 5 cents, well-preserved proof strikes and error coins can hold greater value, adding an element of intrigue to this humble yet iconic coin. According to the NGC Price Guide, a Jefferson nickel from 1978 in circulated condition is worth between 10 cents and 20 cents. However, on the open market, 1978, nickels in pristine, uncirculated condition sell for as much as $110. The 1979 Jefferson nickel is part of a long-running series of U.S. 5-cent coins that began in 1938. While not particularly rare, the 1979 nickel holds a place in numismatic history due to its mint varieties and the transition in U.S. coinage during the late 20th century. The Jefferson nickel was introduced in 1938 to replace the Buffalo nickel. Designed by Felix Schlag, the coin features a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third U.S. president, on the obverse. The reverse initially depicted Monticello, Jefferson's famous Virginia estate. By 1979, the Jefferson nickel had been in circulation for over 40 years, with only minor modifications. However, this period was significant because the U.S. Mint was experimenting with composition changes due to rising metal costs. Nickel and copper prices were increasing. Like all nickels since 1866, except for wartime 1942-1945 nickels, the 1979 nickel is made of 75% copper and 25% nickel. The 1979 Jefferson nickel was struck at 3 different U.S. mints, Philadelphia, no mint mark. Produced the highest number of coins, Denver, D mint mark. San Francisco, S mint mark. Only struck for proof sets, not for circulation. In 2004, the U.S. Mint introduced the Westward Journey nickel series, temporarily replacing Monticello with new reverse designs. The 1979 nickel represents the classic design before these changes. Unlike the 1939 doubled Monticello or the 1943 2P war nickel overdate, the 1979 nickel has no major error varieties. However, collectors still look for doubled dies or off-center strikes. During World War II, 1942 to 1945, nickels were made with 35% silver to conserve nickel for the war effort. By 1979, the coin had returned to its standard copper-nickel composition. While the 1979 Jefferson nickel is not a rare or highly valuable coin, it remains an interesting piece of U.S. numismatic history. Its classic design, large mintage numbers, and place in the transition period before modern commemorative nickels make it a notable coin for collectors. Whether you find one in pocket change or acquire a proof version, the 1979 nickel is a small but meaningful part of America's coinage legacy. According to the NGC Price Guide, a Jefferson nickel from 1979 in circulated condition is worth between $0.10 and $0.20. However, on the open market, 1979 nickels in pristine, uncirculated condition sell for as much as $115.